hope you understand you're in a war. I hope you understand you have an enemy. He is actively scheming. And he wants to twist the truth in order to wound you. He wants to lie to you and deceive you. He wants to attack you. He wants to taunt you with your guilt and with your shame because Satan hates the church. And John wanted the churches of the book of Revelation to understand that the reason that they were experiencing so much opposition and so much attack is because there is a red dragon who wants to destroy them. The question is, what hope do we have? He's been disarmed, but he's still dangerous. He's seeking to destroy. Can he be defeated? And the church would say, yes. Absolutely, he can be defeated. How can he be defeated? Well, I want you to just notice 3 ways as we close this morning. Notice how Satan can be defeated. Well, first of all, Satan is defeated by Christ, who conquers. Amen? Don't forget that everything that happens in verses 6 through 17 follows what happens in verse 5. Verse 5 frames the rest of the story. Verse 5 is about the victory of Christ. So when we're reading about the scheming, attacking ploys of our enemy, when you read about his evil, scheming nature, you need to be reminded that all of this comes from a position of him having been thrown down. That he's already been destroyed, he's already been defeated by Christ. The reason that Satan is thrown down is because Christ has been raised up. And so we need to remember to put Satan in his rightful place. Satan cannot win because Christ has already won. Which means that we are facing a defeated foe. So he can be defeated by Christ who conquers. But secondly, the text tells us that he's defeated because Christ helps his church. Did you notice the language? It's woven throughout. We see it in verse 6, the woman flees into the wilderness to be nourished there. Look at that word nourish. It's actually used again down in verse 14. She was nourished for a time, times, and half a time. For this period of wilderness wandering for the church, this 42 months of distress and persecution, the church is not on her own. Folks, this is good news. You don't face Satan's attack by yourself. You have Christ who nourishes his people. To nourish means to feed. There's the woman out in the wilderness being attacked by the dragon, but she's not alone. This Christ who has won the victory is also the Christ who helps his people. You even have a picture of that in verse 16. As the serpent floods the woman, we're told that the earth helps the woman. The earth opens up and covers up the flood. The imagery there is from the Exodus story, right? You remember when the Egyptians are chasing after the Israelites through the Red Sea, and the Red Sea opens up for the Israelites as they're fleeing away from the dragon's army, right, in Egypt. But then when they get safely to the other side, what happens with the Red Sea? It swallows up their enemy. That's the picture in verse 16, that Satan is trying to flood and to drown the people of God, but Christ helps his people by coming to her aid. It's encouraging to my heart that when I face Satan's accusations and attacks, I'm not doing it by myself. That the Christ who has won the victory over the grave is there to nourish me in the wilderness, to come to my aid and help me in the midst of those attacks. But then finally, we're told that Satan is defeated by a conquering church. I want you to focus back on verse 11. I skipped over this verse because I wanted to end here. We're told that they conquered him. This dragon who tried to devour Christ and could not, who tried to devour the church and cannot, they, the church, the people of God who are being attacked by the dragon, they conquer him. You are part of a conquering people. This is how the Bible speaks of God's people all over the place, right? Paul says we are more than conquerors. Revelation 2 and 3, the letters to the 7 churches ends, every one of those letters ends by saying to him who conquers. Now we're told that we conquer him. Well, how do we conquer Satan? That's an important question for you. If you're in a battle and you have a real enemy and you're in a real war and he's scheming against you, he wants to accuse you and deceive you, and all of these other things that the text is talking about. If he's waging war against you, how do you wage war back? That's the question. And verse 11 tells us there are three ways. There are three ways that you can wage war back against the dragon. Number one, they conquered him by the blood of the Lamb. That is, you don't wage war in your own strength. You wage war with the blood of the Lamb. Now, why does John mention that? Well, what does it mean to wage war with the blood of the Lamb? Well, you remember in verse 10, what is Satan doing against the people of God night and day? What is he doing? Accusing, taunting them with their guilt and with their shame, accusing them before God day and night. What Satan is doing is pointing his bony finger towards you, saying, guilty. What defense do you have? There you are in court, and the accuser pointing his finger at you, saying, you see that thought that person had? Do you see what they did? Do you see how wicked they are? Guilty. I would suggest to you the only defense in court, the blood of Christ. When Satan accuses you, you can agree with him. I am guilty. I did think those things. I did do those things. I am guilty because I'm sinful. But that's not the whole story. The whole story is that my penalty for my guilt has already been paid by the Lamb. He shed his blood for me, which means I am washed of my guilt. I am cleansed of my shame, and I am not who Satan says I am. And so you do war against the dragon by reminding him of the blood of the Lamb that has been shed for you, which means that his accusations can't hold up in court. Thank God. His accusations against you no longer carry any legal force. He can accuse you all day long, but his accusations can't stick because of the blood of Christ. This is why in Romans chapter 8 and verse 33, the Apostle Paul says, who can bring an accusation against God's elect? God is the one who justifies. So how do we wage war? Number one, the blood of the Lamb. Number two, they conquered him with the word of their testimony. Testimony, we've seen that word multiple times. It's the word witness. We've just read about the witness of the church in Revelation chapter 11. John is saying that the way that you do battle against Satan is with a testimony. It's with a witness. Testimony is the same word used down in verse 17. Satan wages war against those who keep the commands of God and hold firmly to the testimony about Jesus. Satan thrives on lies. So when you remind him of the gospel truth that you believe about Jesus, you take his weapons out of his hand. When you bear witness to the gospel, to what Christ has done and what Christ has done for you, when Satan points that bony finger of accusation, you say, but I believe the good news about Jesus. I believe the testimony about Jesus. You remove Satan's weapons from his hand. You conquer. And then third, you conquer by the blood of the Lamb. They conquer by the word of their testimony. But look at the third reason, the very last line of verse 11. And they did not love their lives to the point of death. We conquer because we do not love our lives even to the point of death. Listen to me. When Christ is more precious to you than life itself, Satan loses. Someone has put it this way, when you would rather die than yield 1 inch of your heart to Satan, Satan loses. How do you wage war against Satan? When you are willing to give up your very life because you love Jesus more than you love life itself, Satan is conquered. He's defeated. How can you do this? How can you love Jesus more than you love life itself? Well, let me just close by quoting Darrell Johnson. He says the reason you can do this is because for the Christian, death is not the last word. It's the second to last word. If you believe in resurrection, then death is not the worst thing that can happen to you. If you believe that Christ was raised, and one day when he returns, all of his children will be raised, then death is no longer the enemy. Death is no longer something to be feared. You can just say, I love my life, but I love Christ more. And the moment you're willing to love Christ more than you love your life is the moment that Satan's powers against you are defeated.